I'll try to keep this post brief, but I want to provide all the details, so please read it through before giving advice. My wife and I got married at 22, right after finishing college. We've been together for 16 years, and during our 14-year marriage, we've had a great relationship and love each other. To be honest, in February and March, I unintentionally neglected her a bit because of work and other responsibilities. During that time, she ended up sleeping with one of her coworkers once, about a month ago. However, she immediately regretted it, and I believe her because I've talked to others and found evidence supporting her story. She told me about it the next day, and it felt like a punch to the gut. It was as if someone had ripped my heart out. At first, I was completely shocked and just stared at her, but then I lashed out and hurled unspeakable insults at her, which is something I never thought I would do. Honestly, I can't even remember everything I said. She broke down and apologized multiple times. Her apologies felt genuine to me, and she truly seemed remorseful for her actions. I could see it in her eyes and in the way she has acted since then. About a week after her confession, I told her that I will file for divorce, but I plan to do it after this whole quarantine situation is over. She cried silently and left for the bathroom without saying anything. She asked for my forgiveness, but understood if I couldn't give it. She expressed her willingness to do whatever it takes to save our marriage and fix the damage she caused. She even mentioned that if we end up divorcing, she would forego any unfair settlement she might receive, believing that we should split our wealth fairly since I'm in a better financial situation. Throughout all of this, I believe she genuinely regrets her actions and wants to repair our marriage. However, I still have the desire to proceed with the divorce. Our parents have talked to me, and while they condemn what she did, they still encourage us to work things out. But I've never been one to easily follow advice, and except for this incident, life has been going well for me so far. My wife has been sleeping on the couch for the past 3-4 weeks, and we hardly communicate except when it's about our daughters or our future. I've been almost non-existent in terms of communication. Even though she has been making efforts for weeks, I haven't forgiven her yet, and I struggle with the idea of forgiveness. It's not solely about trust, although that has been severely damaged, but it's more about the profound sense of betrayal. Even after a few weeks of discovering the truth, I'm still conflicted with my emotions and no closer to finding an answer. I've been contemplating my next move for almost a month now, and I still have no clue what to do. It's evident to me that she genuinely feels sorry for her actions, and this is truly out of character for her. Since then, she's been putting in a lot of effort into our relationship, even though she knows it might be in vain, because I haven't been reciprocating that effort over the past few weeks. Honestly, I don't think I can move past the betrayal, and then there are my kids who will be negatively affected if we divorce. I have to admit, sometimes I feel like going through with the divorce just to get back at her, because I know it would hurt her. I know it sounds cruel, but that's the anger and resentment I have towards her. She told me that while she's willing to do anything to save our marriage, she will ultimately respect my decision. I'm really unsure about what to do because on one hand, I see the anger, resentment, and betrayal from my wife after 14 years of marriage. On the other hand, I see my kids, the love we've shared for 16 years, the fact that this is completely out of character for her, and her genuine remorse and efforts to fix what she broke. So here I am, turning to Reddit to find some guidance that I haven't been able to find for weeks. After waiting for 2 months, I have made the decision to proceed with the divorce. During this time, my wife respected my space and privacy and did everything right after the incident. In the past month, I really tried to give us a chance. We started talking again and grew closer compared to when I refused to even speak to her. We even shared the same bed again, but nothing ever happened. Things progressed to some extent, but in the end, I just couldn't envision being close with her ever again. I just couldn't. I remember a specific instance about 2 weeks ago when she tried to initiate something in bed, but I felt bad and asked her to stop. She backed off and apologized, understanding my feelings. After that, she never tried to initiate anything out of respect, but let me know that if I ever wanted to try, she would be willing to take it slow. There were moments when things improved and we became friendly and I thought there might be a chance, but ultimately, I just couldn't do it. I don't know why, but I can't seem to move past the betrayal she committed. When I told her I wanted a divorce, she started crying immediately, but she respected my decision and said she would go along with the fair divorce settlement she had offered before. I felt the need to get away from the house, so I started packing my things. Initially, she offered to leave, but I felt like I needed some time alone to figure things out. She actually helped me pack, and when everything was ready, tears streamed down her face. She excused herself and went to another room, where she completely broke down. I won't lie, I broke down too after realizing, perhaps for the first time, that this marked the end of my 16-year relationship with the woman I once thought I'd spend my life with. We hugged each other afterwards, and it felt comforting to hold her like that again, probably for the last time. So we're proceeding with an amicable divorce, and I want to thank all of you for your advice. While many people might have forgiven her and tried to move on since she only cheated once and did everything right afterward, I feel like this is something I need to do for myself. I wish I could get past it. And for a while I thought there might be a chance. I gave it my best shot, but in the end I realized that things would never be the same as they once were. I feel like I need to explore what life has to offer. And by that, I don't just mean casually dating or playing around. I need to venture out into the world and find myself. Some time for just me. Who knows, maybe I'll become more skilled at my hobbies and discover new passions along the way. I can't say for sure if this is the right decision, but it feels right for me. After my journey, we'll start sharing parenting responsibilities during the divorce process. It's an agreement we both made because we know we're good parents who love our girls deeply. My wife mentioned that she hopes we can start something again after our time apart, if that's what I want. I'm not sure if that's what I want, but thanks to everyone's words and the passage of time, the anger has definitely lessened. I still hate what she did, but I no longer regret the 16 years we spent together. If anything, I cherish the time we had, and the greatest gift from it is our 2 amazing girls. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm both nervous and excited to find out. Second story. I just had to share what's been going on in my life this past week, but the 2 people I would normally talk to about it, well, they were both involved. I've been dating my girlfriend, both 28, for about 5 years. Now, our anniversary was at the end of August. Things didn't get serious until after college. Like any relationship, we had our ups and downs. And I definitely felt that we weren't as starry-eyed and lovey-dovey as we used to be. There was still some of that, but it wasn't like the early days. So, she met a new coworker, one of those, about 9 months ago. Initially, she thought he wasn't interested in women, and I had the same impression when I first met him. They started going out for drinks, and I knew this was trouble. I would have taken any pain in her place. That's how much I cared, and I assumed she felt the same way. Anyway, from what I've gathered, they started sexting and emailing each other in mid to late December, continuing well into January. At the same time, they began meeting up at work for late-night makeout sessions, and even BJ. They stopped sometime in late January or early February because, well, he, let's call him FF from now on, met me. I became a real person to him, not just some name he could ignore while avoiding my girlfriend. Over the next few months, FF and I actually became really good friends. He would stay at our place all the time, and we would all get drunk and have a great time. I jokingly called that jerk Hermano. We both loved Arrested Development. Then things started up again. I don't know exactly when, and I'm not even sure if she's being completely honest with me anymore. And surprise, surprise. But according to what she said, it was sometime in the last 2 months. Same old story. I know they didn't have sex because she had some issues and pain with her lady parts. Yeah, she struggles with tampons and stuff. But now I'm freaking myself out, thinking she might have done it anyway with FF. About a week ago, on Wednesday night, we all hung out together and got pretty wasted. I was cleaning up the mess we made in the hangout space and kitchen while my girlfriend was brushing her teeth. FF mentioned something about a shirt or whatever, so I knocked on his door to see if he was still awake. No response. He had just gone to bed. So I slowly opened the door and saw the light from the bathroom shining into the dark room, the bathroom where my girlfriend was brushing her teeth. I saw her hand on the back of his head in the window reflection as they were getting very passionate. Shaking, I walked back to the couch, trying to process if any of this was even real anymore. You know, all that dramatic stuff. I sat there for at least a minute, shaking and trying to figure out what to do. I needed confirmation that it was real and to prevent any further activities. So I went back and caught them still going at it passionately. I couldn't bring myself to confront them. It's just not my nature. So I grabbed my keys and slammed a drawer in the process. That snapped them out of it. So my girlfriend comes out and asks me, "What's wrong?" She saw my expression and instantly knew. I just kept walking towards the door and she tried to stop me, but I kept going, and outside the door, she finally stood in front of me. She started apologizing, saying she never meant to hurt me and all that. There were some back and forth exchanges, but I don't remember all the details. Eventually, I managed to break away and started walking. She kept calling, but I ignored her. When I reached my car, I just let it all out. Thankfully, I held back from honking the horn, which would have been a bad move. If you've ever been cheated on, first time for me, you know how overwhelming everything can feel. Now, here's the part where you might expect me to say that I told her off, hit the gym, and hooked up with a model or something. Well, you'll be disappointed. After answering her third call, I got out of the car. It was a rough conversation, and then, of course, just a couple of minutes into it, my phone died on me, completely dead. And to top it off, it started raining. It was one of the most surreal moments of my life. A few minutes later, she found me walking and crying. I asked her every question that came to my mind. I just needed to know everything, even though some people might not. She told me half-truths. I had a feeling she would. But at least I got some answers. I walked her back to our place to make sure she got there safely. Don't even suggest that I should have left her there. I may be hurting, but I still believe in being a gentleman, even in the worst situations. FF's car was gone. I decided to stay somewhere else for the night. I stayed up all night with all those images in my head. It was, well, I don't really believe in it, but it felt like a glimpse of hell, you know? I know it sounds melodramatic, but that's how it felt. I know some of you might be getting angry right now, but that night, I decided to give it a shot and try to make it work. I love her too much, and that feeling is still there. It's the one thing I didn't question throughout that whole night. I may have had doubts in my mind, but I didn't want to end things. I know the sidebar says not to attack me in the comments, but if I had read this post about a week and a half ago, I probably would have done the same. I really hope we can make this work. I've never been someone who opens up easily to others. I'm not close to my parents, and while I have some friends, I don't share everything with them, as you can see from this post. She's the person I can be myself with. She doesn't judge me. She loves me, including my flaws, in a way that I've never felt in any other relationships I've had. But she cheated on you, man. There are plenty of other girls who can be that person for you. Dump her. It's not that I don't care about her cheating on me. Oh, I do. It's just that I understand it. I miss the excitement of something new. Those texts and emails, which stupidly I started reading, and it's what made me write this post, and the playful flirtations. It happens sometimes. She got caught up in it, and I can't really blame her for that. I'm sure some of you want to punch me for saying that. In my darkest moments, I would never cheat on her. I've had opportunities to cross boundaries in a committed relationship, but it's not about whether I did or she did. I don't know what it's about, honestly. I'm not afraid of being alone. And I don't think I'm being thoughtless or irrational here. I genuinely want to make this work, and she does too. I hope we can. Edit. This happened right before my birthday next week. Lucky me. Update. So, I broke up with her and moved out today. That's the update. I learned more about her and the cheating, but I don't really feel like typing it all out. The extra information didn't affect my decision. It's been a long 3 months, and I'm relieved that it's finally over. I appreciate all the words of encouragement, as well as the not-so-encouraging words. Third story. All right, let's begin with a little backstory. I met my husband right after graduating college in a new city, and he swept me off my feet. Our first date was pure magic, and 3 years later, we tied the knot. Now, we have an 8-year-old daughter. We both have demanding jobs, and juggling childcare and work responsibilities keeps us pretty busy. Despite that, my husband always made time for me and treated me like a queen, even when I didn't reciprocate the same level of attention. In early 2019, I got to know one of my coworkers, Nick. He's around my age, married, and has 3 kids of his own. Nick and I started innocently enough, going to work outings together and having conversations. We gradually became more physically affectionate, sitting close to each other and engaging in light touching. I suppose he reminded me of the passion my husband and I had when we were younger, which drew me closer to him. Eventually, we started having an affair. Deep down, I knew it was wrong, but I continued without fully considering the consequences it could have on my husband. This morning started like any other day. My husband usually gets in the shower before me, and I take the opportunity to snooze a bit longer. Last night, he mentioned that he planned to stop by Costco on his way home from work, so I thought I'd grab his phone and add a few things I wanted to the shopping list. I happen to know the lock code for his iPhone, so I opened the Notes app to make the additions. To my surprise, when I opened the app, it showed a folder with dates on it. The dates went back to the first week of March and continued up until last week. Out of curiosity, I opened one of the dates, and what I found shocked me. It was a diary, something I never knew my husband would keep. As I read through the first few entries, my heart broke. The diary was all about my infidelity and how my husband was dealing with it. From the dates mentioned, it seemed he had discovered my affair about a month after it started getting physical. I quickly locked his phone and hid it. When he came out of the shower, I helped him search for the phone I hid. Fortunately, he has a separate work phone, so he wasn't too bothered by not finding it and left the house with only his work phone. I took the day off from work and read through each diary entry. It's making me feel sick to my stomach. In the first 3 months after my husband discovered my affair, almost every entry was about his plans to make me fall in love with him again. He detailed how he wanted to make me forget about Nick. He talked about taking us on a week-long vacation so I wouldn't see him, buying my favorite flowers and cooking my favorite dish. But despite his efforts, I continued seeing Nick. As time went on and I kept lying to my husband, he wrote in the diary about his weakening resolve, how he was becoming depressed and feeling lonely and unloved. After 3 months, the diary entries focused solely on his depression and how he would cry every time he knew I was with Nick. He described how every night before falling asleep, he would visualize Nick's body on top of mine, which made him physically sick. He kept writing about not wanting our daughter to grow up with divorced parents like he did. However, there's one diary entry from a month ago that stopped me in my tracks. In that entry, my husband wrote about one night when I was with Nick and he put our daughter to bed. He was crying to himself, as usual, but suddenly the tears stopped flowing. He says that his body finally stopped producing tears over our failed marriage. According to him, that night was when he felt like the Band-Aid covering his soul was completely ripped off. In his diary entry, he describes the 6-month-long process of slowly removing that Band-Aid, and now that it's finally off, he feels a sense of relief. It seems like he has moved on from me. 2 weeks ago, he wrote another entry in his diary. He mentioned wanting to meet someone new, a 403 girl. He admits he doesn't know how to start an affair, but he feels curious about having a connection with someone other than his wife. My husband is aware of my cheating schedule and has planned to meet this person during the times I'm with Nick. I'm at a loss at this point. I feel so ashamed of myself. I kept convincing myself that no one was being hurt, that the affair would run its course and things would return to normal. I never realized the pain and suffering I caused my husband. I've cheated on him multiple times, and he endured all of it. What can I do now? I promise never to cheat on my husband again, but it might be too late for me to have this realization. Where do I go from here? What can I do? I know some of you might have harsh things to say about me, and that's okay, but please help me save the marriage that I've destroyed.